Good evening and welcome to the regular Planning Commission for the City of San Mateo. Tonight is September 10th. And if you'll all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Secretary, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Chair Mallory?
Present.
Vice Chair Maldonado?
Present.
Commissioner Ebnetter?
Here.
Commissioner Etheridge?
Present.
Commissioner Williams?
Present.
Okay, everyone present and accounted for. I'm going to go ahead and read a reminder to commissioners and the public. Due to the physical distancing protocols in place at this time, we continue to encourage public participation remotely. Information on how to provide public comment is explained at the bottom of the published agenda. There are two ways to participate. Join the Zoom meeting by clicking on the link at the top of the agenda. Use the raise your hand button to be called on at the appropriate time. Phone-in participation can be done by calling 408-638-0968 with the conference ID number meeting 850-5068-4855. When the item of interest is open for consideration, press star 9 to raise your hand to be called on. When called upon, press star 6 to unmute, state your name, and provide your comments. These options for public comment will remain available until I close the public comment period for that specific item. Try to get all that out. Okay, we are going to start with our consent calendar. Mary, if you'll read the items.
For the one and only item is the Planning Commission meeting minutes to approve the minutes of the Planning Commission meeting of July 28, 2020.
Thank you. Do any of the commissioners have any comments or questions about the minutes?
Through the chair. So I know that the Concord passages item has come up several times over the last couple of years, and the paragraph in here about my recusal seems a little extraneous. I don't think we've gone to this level of detail in past minutes. I've read out a comment and a script in the meetings, and people can see it in the video, but I don't know that we need the 5 lines on the minutes about my recusal.
Yeah, I think it would be fine to say Commissioner Etheridge recused himself from the meeting. That's enough information.
Right, which I think is consistent with how we've done it in past minutes.
Well, I think the difference was you read it out onto the video.
Yeah, well, that's what I've done in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know we try to do action minutes, so we try not to, repeat statements verbatim. So I think I can work with Aaron and Mary to revise that.
That would be my preference.
Okay. And are there any other comments or questions?
Nope.
So maybe if we could have a motion that would include altering that part of the minutes, that would be great.
Okay. I make a motion to approve the July 28th minutes with the edit to that first paragraph, as Gabrielle mentioned.
I'll second that.
Okay, if we could have a roll call vote, Mary?
Yes, Chair Mallory?
Yes.
Vice Chair Maldonado?
Yes.
Commissioner Ebnetter?
Yes.
Commissioner Etheridge?
Yes.
Commissioner Williams. Commissioner Williams.
Sorry, on mute. Yes.
And the motion passes 5-0. Thank you. We will now open our public comment period. During the public comment period, members of the public may speak on general items of interest within the Commission's jurisdiction that are not on tonight's agenda. Each member of the public may speak for a maximum of 3 minutes, with a maximum of 15 minutes for the entire public comment period. The Commission shall not act on or discuss any matters raised during the public comment period which are not on the agenda, but shall refer such matters to staff for review and or request such matters be placed on a future agenda. And with that, is there anyone that would like to speak during our public comment period? Mary, do we have anyone lined up for that?
No one is raising their hand to speak.
Okay, we'll close public comment period and move into the public hearing on our agenda item. The Planning Commission decisions are final unless appealed to the City Council in accordance with Section 27.08.090 of the San Mateo Municipal Code. The time within which judicial review of any final decision may be sought is governed by Code of Civil Procedure, Section 1094.6. If any person challenges a planning action in court, they may be limited to raising only those issues raised at the public hearing or in written correspondence delivered to the City of San Mateo at or prior to the public hearing. Some public hearings will be automatically referred to City Council, and those will be indicated below. With that, we will begin discussion on the modification to Bay Meadows Phase 2, SPAR number 2, Residence 6, which is PA-2020-033. And I will turn it over to staff. Philip.
Great. Thank you, Chair Mallory, and good evening to the Planning Commission. My name is Philip Brennan. I'm the project planner for this planning application. Let's see. I'd like to begin with a brief background on Residential Block 6, or what's commonly known as Res 6. Res 6 was originally part of the Bay Meadows Phase 2 multi-block development approved under SPAR 2 in October of 2008. In June of last year, the applicant met with both our zoning administrator and planning manager to review some of the proposed changes to the approved design. Based on those discussions, the applicant submitted for a building permit last December with plans that reflected those modifications. However, upon evaluation of the permit plans, adopted conditions of approval and relevant Muni Code sections, staff received direction from the city attorney's office that the scope of the proposed changes warranted a SPAR modification, which requires formal review and approval by the Planning Commission, which is what brings us here today. Should the SPAR mod be approved tonight, the applicant would proceed with the building permit application currently on file with the city. The approved project, as previously noted, was a 3- and 4-story multifamily building comprised of 54 condo units with just over 105,000 net square feet of floor area and 111 parking spaces located in an underground parking garage. The applicant is proposing several modifications from the approved design, which have been discussed in detail in the administrative report. For tonight's presentation, staff will be discussing a few of the more noteworthy proposed changes to provide added clarity and context. However, staff is prepared to discuss any of the listed modifications should the Planning Commission feel the need to. The applicant is proposing to reduce the net overall floor area of the project by approximately 10,000 square feet by removing floor area along the interior courtyard of the building. It should be noted that the apartment, condominium, and loft development standards of Bay Meadows Phase 2 plan area are permitted to have an FAR of up to 3.0. The proposed design would reduce the project's FAR to 2.0. It should also be noted that there is no required minimum FAR prescribed in this plan area. The project maintains the same 3- and 4-story building design. However, the applicant is proposing to further refine the approved design with some minor changes to the elevations, I should say. The proposed changes to the elevations are in keeping with the Bay Meadows design guidelines and allowances of the development framework, and can be characterized as subtle variations to the originally approved design. On this elevation, from the view corridor perspective, you'll notice the 2nd and 3rd story decks along the middle of the building of the approved design are recessed, whereas the proposed design feature, whereas the proposed decks are slightly extended past the wall plane with the proposed design. You'll also notice the proposed design features tall gate underneath the covered entry corridor into the courtyard. Along the Bays Road facing elevation, you'll notice the proposed design removes the tan hardy paneling at the ground floor, and then the driveway entry has been relocated more center along the building, and the parapet heights shown on the proposed design have been increased, resulting in a more uniform roof line along this elevation. Along the northeast elevation at Landing Avenue, you'll find more minor changes to the window fenestration along the ground floor and the right side of the elevation shown here. Otherwise, the design largely matches the approved original design. The building elevation facing Landing Avenue features an awning at the upper floor along the middle portion of the building. The proposed design reduces that awning. Along the 3-story section of the building, on the left side, the top balconies have been removed. And the proposed roof design on the multi-story units on the left side again now feature an eave overhang. Along the west elevation facing Kine Street, the design remains largely the same, with the exception of to the removal of a portion of the tan hardy paneling on the 2nd floor, subtle changes to the balconies, and window fenestration again. The applicant has increased the floor to ceiling heights on each floor, which results in increasing the building's overall top plate height to 2 feet. It should be noted that Bay Meadows Phase 2 permitted building heights up to 55 feet for multifamily development. However, buildings which exceed 45 feet in height are required to provide Measure P findings as specified in the general plan. The revised building design proposes a maximum building height of 44 feet, 4 3/4, as measured from the lowest existing grade to the top of the top plate height of the building. The applicant has modified the bedroom count composition of the units, primarily by reducing the number of 3-bedroom units and increasing the number of 1-bedroom units. However, the same number of total dwelling units remains the same at 54. The change in the bedroom composition coincides with a reduction of required off-street parking. Based on the proposed changes, the project requires 103 off-street parking spaces. The project provides an excess with 106 parking stalls. The parking management plan approved under SPAR 2 specified a parking ratio range for multifamily blocks not to exceed 1.75 to 2.25 spaces per unit. And the proposed project would satisfy this requirement by providing 1.96 spaces per unit. This slide is partly a continuation of the previous slide and shows the revised parking garage layout based on the reduced parking requirement and stall composition. Additionally, the driveway entry to the underground garage has been relocated to a more central position along Bays Road. The on-street loading space on Bays Road has been the on-street loading space on Bays Road has been relocated south of the driveway and meets the requirements of both Recology and the city's loading zone requirements. When the project was originally approved in 2008, the city did not have developed bicycle parking requirements in place as it does now. The project at the time was required to simply provide 2 9x18 parking facilities for storing bicycles. The Planning Commission at the time expressed some concerns regarding the adequacy of bike parking on site and added a condition, number 47, which specified residential blocks 4 and 6 to provide a physical device in front of the parking stalls on site to enable bicycle parking. And what they had in mind was a circular bike ring installed in the ground, or some sort of device that would be anchored in the ground to allow for a heavy chain or cable to secure a bike. The applicant is seeking to amend the condition of the originally approved SPAR in preference of locating long-term parking in secure bike storage rooms to avoid potential theft and parking obstruction issues. And staff is supportive of that amendment. The proposed amended condition shown here in red would allow the project to accommodate the required bicycle parking based on our current standard via 2 bike storage rooms, while maintaining the original condition as a fallback in case there's any shortfall in bicycle parking. Staff has evaluated the scope of the proposed modifications discussed in the presentation and administrative report, and determined that the project maintains consistency with the overall design intent and goals of the design guidelines and specific plan amendments development framework. As such, staff is recommending the Planning Commission approve the site plan and architectural review modifications and amendment to condition approval 47 for Res 6. And that concludes staff's presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Philip. Why don't we start out with questions from the Planning Commission?
Through the chair, I have a question for staff. I believe in one of the documents, it states that should the Planning Commission decide not to approve the modifications in the current application, the applicant has reserved its right to revert back to the original approved SPAR. Is that correct?
Correct.
And do we have to approve all the modifications individually or as a whole?
I believe they could. Go ahead, Gabrielle.
This is Gabrielle, Assistant City Attorney. We should act on the application as a whole.
Okay. Ellen.
Ramiro, were those all your questions? Okay.
Yes.
I can't see everybody. Yes.
Through the chair. So Philip, I just want to confirm. So these are modifications from the details of what was approved before, but it still all meets the design guidelines, right? There's nothing in here that's an exception.
That's
to
correct.
The design guidelines.
That's correct.
Okay. That's how I was reading it. I just want to make sure.
Yep.
Through the chair?
Yes.
Where the balconies were removed, does that coincide with where the children's bedrooms would be in the rental units?
I'd be happy to answer that question as applicant if you'd like.
Sure.
So yes, the removal of the balconies on the townhome units that Philip was mentioning, that is at the townhomes on level 3, which is where the children's bedrooms are located. But the townhomes retain a balcony at level 2, where the master bedroom is located, and then they also retain a rear patio that faces into the courtyard.
Great. So it's a safety issue is the reason why they were taken out.
That's correct.
Great.
For the townhome balconies.
Great. Thank you. That was the only question I had at this time.
Thank you. Margaret, do you have a question?
Yes. It's kind of minor. It's a couple of minor things. So on the matrix of explanation of the modification matrix, under materials, I'm just curious why it says, under proposed, it says proposed plans include VPI vinyl black as spec for both windows and doors. And I don't know what VPI is. And I guess so. It's basically just black vinyl clad windows. Maybe VPI is the manufacturer. And then part of that question is also under the next category, which is the applicable requirements. It specifically calls out manufacturers other than Milgard. So Milgard is a vinyl clad window. And I'll tell you the reason why I'm asking this is because vinyl is really environmentally really not a good product to manufacture in terms of the environment. It's really difficult, hard on the environment. So I'm just curious if they could clarify that. Why does it specify not Milgard?
Randy?
And I think I can go ahead and jump in and answer that. So I'm Joe Bailey. I'm the architect who's been working on this project. VPI, to answer the first question, is the manufacturer of the windows. They're the ones that make this product. It's a product that's been used throughout the Bay Meadows projects. It was used at the projects that you find across the street. So we use it for a couple of reasons. One, it's better performing than the Milgard aluminum windows. And so the environmental factors are kind of offset a little bit, building performance versus the material itself. And that's really it.
Okay, I thought Milgard was also a vinyl clad window, but I guess maybe they have an aluminum line as well, but okay. Okay, I was just a little unclear on that. If they, if it's what's been being used, I guess, within the campus as a whole, it makes sense. Let me see if I had anything else. It was pretty minor, but I guess the only other thing was one thing I couldn't really tell, and I guess I could have studied the PDF more, but I was just looking at the hard copy, and I can't really tell what the addition. So on the second page, it says courtyard-facing elevations, the addition of courtyard-facing amenities such as fitness center and communal lounge, and I couldn't really tell what those were, where they were. In the hard copy, it wasn't very legible. But is that those amenities were not provided previously? Is that right?
That's correct. So we added or we increased the size of a lot of the amenities. So you'll see amenities in two primary locations, one facing Bays Road, and on that wing, that's the place where we've enlarged and provided a workout center. So you'll see a fitness center that's new. And then on the side facing Kine Street, we've enlarged the main lobby, and we've included a lounge with the group kitchen. And so those are new amenities that weren't in the original, at least they weren't at that size.
Okay, great. Yeah, for someday when we can actually go back to the gym.
I need it.
That's all the questions I had.
Okay. I just had a very overarching question, and that was, I was curious about the rationale for moving to rental instead of for sale.
Would you like us to respond to that now?
That'd be
great. Great, thank you. So when the project was originally entitled, our development agreement allowed for the product to be either rental or for sale. And so we've always retained that flexibility, both for the benefit of San Mateo, the city of San Mateo, as well as for developers' benefit. And what we found in developing Bay Meadows is that there's just a tremendous demand for rental product in the area. So our existing buildings are consistently 96, 97% leased. And there continues to be extra demand for that type of product. And what we like is we like that across the site, there's a nice balance of for sale product that's already been built out, rental product, office, retail. It just adds a nice element to the mixed use community. But really, it's a demand issue, and we want to be there to meet the demand that we've seen consistently for this product type.
Okay, thank you.
Through the chair, I do have one other question.
Yes.
So there is now going to be solar installation for the units. Will this be an all electric building, or will there also be natural gas brought to the property other than the fire pits?
So I can respond to that. The solar panels are PV only. They're not doing hot water. And then we're only bringing in gas for the fire pits.
Our appliances are electric.
I'm sorry, the appliances are all electric?
That's correct.
Great. So will the only gas will be used for what purpose?
For the fireplaces.
Oh, for the fireplaces?
Yes.
Great. Wonderful. Thank you.
Any other questions from the commission? So let's open it up for public comment. Mary, do we have members of the public that'd like to speak?
Excuse me, will applicant be given an opportunity to address the commission, Mary?
I will defer to Chair Mallory on that.
Oh, absolutely. If you would like to do that, why don't we do that right now? And then if there are any more questions from the Planning Commission, we can do that prior to public comment.
Great, thank you so much. So good evening. My name is Brandy Bridges, and I'm a senior project manager with Wilson Meany, the developer for Res 6. And I just wanted to start by saying thank you for hearing our project this evening. As you know from Philip's report, our project was originally entitled long ago in 2008. Res 6 is one of our last residential parcels remaining at Bay Meadows to be built. And we're really looking forward to bringing the 54 units to market. We have maxed out the number of units that were allowed by code at 50 dwelling units per acre. And our offering includes 5 affordable homes. Very similar to all the other buildings at Bay Meadows. As we went from our SPAR and schematic design stage and really dug in to get the plans ready for permit, we of course noticed some things, some tweaks and changes that needed to be made to the plans. And that's just something that happens oftentimes when you're doing design development, but also with such a duration between the original SPAR and now, there were code changes and other factors. And so once we had a handle on all of those changes that we needed, we went back and we met with Lily and Ron, the zoning administrator and planning director, to just really verify that what we were proposing, that they felt like it was really true to the project that was originally approved, because we knew that that was very important. We wanted to make sure that if anyone ever drove by the project, they would say, this still feels like the same project, but better, and hopefully better in some ways. And so after having that discussion, we felt like we were on really solid footing. We were encouraged to submit for permit. And we went ahead, completed our CDs, started going through the plan check process, which has gone really, really well. But more recently, we did make a few changes that weren't reviewed previously with the city. So that included the addition of the solar system, some refinement of our planting plan for more low water plantings, and then also moving that loading zone over on bays to address the safety issues for ecology in the city. And so planning staff, including, it's been a long road now, Lily, Ron, Kohar, Rindell, Philip, everyone is just incredibly supportive, I think, of the changes proposed. I think that the changes are beneficial to the project, but also the bigger community. At Wilson Meeting, we're especially excited about being able to provide better bike parking that's actually at grade where it's more usable. We're super excited about the solar array because it makes it a more sustainable project. And we're also just excited to make a building that's more livable for tenants by providing better amenity spaces, less tandem parking, all without really altering that look and feel of the building. We think, in our opinion, that the result of all this effort by our architect, ELA, is just a super handsome, energy efficient building, and we're excited to be able to offer this rental housing to San Mateo. And I'm hoping you all will be as excited as I am, because we would love to pull permits and get started building this housing. So with that, I'll just say thank you for your consideration, and we're here to answer any questions that you might have. So thank you.
Thank you. We'll go back to questions from the Planning Commission. Does anyone have any questions for the applicant in addition?
I have a question for Ms. Bridges. So I just wanted to confirm. So you said that you're seeing that there is a tremendous demand for more rental housing in the Bay Meadows development?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Philip, could I ask you to take down your screen so that I can see everybody? Thank you. Okay, so let's then get any questions from the public if we have any. Mary, do we have any speakers?
We do not have anybody asking questions, no.
Okay, all right. Then I will close the public comment period and bring it back to the Planning Commission for any other comments or discussion before we make a motion. Would anyone like to start off?
I can start off.
Okay.
I'm just making myself a note here. Yeah, I mean, it seems really pretty straightforward. And I think that the applicant made a good point just now that I hadn't thought about. But if this was, if the SPAR was from 2008, and then you're going through plan check in 2019, I don't know, at every 3 years, how many code cycles is that? You guys have gone through a lot of code cycles, and so it's only stands to reason that there's going to be changes. I mean, Cal Green, many things could have, the energy code changed a lot. So there could have been many things that required these changes. So it's normal part of the process, it seems, and I can support it. I did make a few notes just on some of the things that I thought. I mean, basically, I said on the matrix, I'm looking at my notes, and it's like, I think it's a better mix of units. Well, I think the building floor area, it's a little bit of a reduction, so that's always good. And somewhere, I guess that means that there's less or more community open space in the courtyard area, which I've been kind of a proponent of that these last few projects I've been seeing. I guess during our COVID times, that's been something that's been like, resonated with me, like a little more outdoor open space for people for times like this. So you've accomplished that, and I think the better mix of units is good. Parking is still over the minimum required. I thought the parking layout looks a lot more straightforward, and I don't know, I just thought of in terms of construction and waterproofing and such, your footprint looks a lot simpler, which is kind of a good thing. Yeah, so I basically have check marks. Yes. I asked you about the windows. So I think it looks like a good project. It hasn't substantially changed from what's been previously seen. And all of the changes make a lot of sense to me based on what I read, what I saw in the documents. So I would certainly approve it. Thank you for your presentations, though.
Would like to go next?
I can go next to the chair.
Thank you.
Thank you to the applicant. I know this has been a long process, but I do want to give you kudos to actually pivoting from going off all four-star units to all rental units. If you're seeing that the market currently is experiencing an influx of needed rental units, and also your willingness to create more diversity on the different types of units, and including more 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms, and reducing the larger 3 bedrooms. And I also want to highlight that with the addition of solar as well. I know that wasn't something that was previously discussed in the SPAR that was approved in 2008. So I do like that you include it now. And there was nothing in the actual matrix of the modifications from the original SPAR to what's being presented now as I see any red flags. So thank you again for creating these changes and being more up to date and providing mostly all electric buildings. So yes.
Mike or John?
I'll go ahead and make a couple comments. Thank you, Chairman Larry. So thanks, Philip and Ms. Bridges, for the presentation. I think that the incremental changes that were made from the previously approved SPAR look fine. They look like, I think as Commissioner Maldonado mentioned, more like tweaks. Nothing controversial to see there. So I definitely support the changes that are being proposed. I guess the thing that was interesting to me that stood out is the comments that Ms. Bridges made about that there are tremendous demand for the rental units on the property of Bay Meadows, and just comparing and contrasting that with the last study session that we got a few months ago from Bay Meadows on the mixed use that was going to significantly reduce the housing volume in those units. So perhaps that's something that's still being considered or will be a change, but I know that's another project, another matter. So thanks for the presentation, and look forward to seeing it progress.
Don, are you ready? Yes, sir.
Yes. Thank you for the non-controversial matter this evening. This is really a pleasure. The modifications to everything you've done, I think, it has been beneficial, including the better use of space for the bike parking. It's fantastic to see a project that is using solar because it not only is economically advantageous, but it is also sustainably or more sustainable than waiting a long time for that economic statement to be made by a private developer when it comes to solar. It's been a long road, so thank you for that. The mix, I also want to state it's a better mix of units. It's great. The benefits for the amenity, the public benefits are better, and the more water resistant and sustainable plants are encouraging. I wanted to wait until the fourth person to comment because I saw a couple of architectural changes that I would have liked to have seen stay in the original SPAR, but since no one else has mentioned them, I think I'll just let them go. So thank you.
Now you got us curious.
Well, I like that
No,
big
he doesn't.
eyebrow on that
I'm
one
not curious.
facade. Kind of like it. And I like some of the color on the first ones, but other than that, they're really not worth debating.
Okay, John. I will agree with what everybody has said. I was very pleased to see so much solar going in. I thought that was a great idea. I did appreciate the new mix of units just to give people more options. And I was very pleased to see the amount of parking per bedroom, not just per unit. So I felt that it was a very positive thing that We were only reduced by 5 parking spaces, but it's 109 bedrooms to 106 parking spaces. So I think that is a very good idea. And those are my comments. So with that, if there are no more questions or comments by the commission, is there a motion? And Philip, would you put that up for us on the screen?
Okay, I'll make, oh, he disappeared it. It was right there.
Back.
It's so close.
Must have been the last page.
Okay, I'll make a motion for Plan Commission to approve the SPAR modifications and amendment to conditions of approval number 47 for Res 6.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Is there a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Chair Mallory,
Yes.
Vice Chair Maldonado,
Yes.
Commissioner Ebnetter,
Aye.
Commissioner Etheridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Williams.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes 5-0, and the public hearing is now closed. And thank you to the applicant for their presentation, and thank you, Philip, for your presentation. Which brings us to reports and announcements.
Thank you. In terms of city council items, there's no upcoming items on the council to directly relate to land use matters. One thing of interest is, though, that the council is considering having a study session related to short-term rentals. We currently do not have a ordinance that specifically relates to short-term rentals in San Mateo, but the council wants to hear what the different policy options are. So that's going to be, there's not the dates to be determined, but it is going to come up within the next month or two. And we'll report back to the Planning Commission when that's set. And then any policy that comes out of that will most likely be brought before the Planning Commission because it will impact the zoning code. So that's it.
Okay, that's it. Thank you. Are there any other comments or questions from the commission?
I have a question if there's a report on our next meeting, because Mary had sent an email about cancellation, but that's not, do we have a planning commission meeting on the 22nd of September?
Yes, actually, I apologize. I should have announced that. There's no second meeting in September. The next scheduled planning commission meeting will be in early October.
Okay, I couldn't remember what the email said. Great, thank you.
Okay. All right, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.